welcome back to Apex 2026. The Decode podcast is joined by Jewell with KYZEN. You have a cool title, the Applications Lab Manager. Mm-hmm. Welcome back to the Decode. We were over at your booth yesterday, and you guys had a really cool St. Patrick's Day party trick, right? So the Analyst 2, but it had this
glowing green.
Yes, it was super cool. Maybe start by telling us about that Analyst 2. Besides being cool to look at, what does that aim to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me back on here. So for the Analyst 2, we've incorporated a new sensor. So it has a refractive index sensor in it now, rather than the sonic velocity. So what that's doing is it's giving you a real-time view of what the concentration in any machine is. So a lot of times that manual method can vary a little bit person to person. And if it's very important to keep your concentration in a certain range, how often are you checking it? Whereas this is grabbing it every couple seconds and it's telling you real time. It's keeping a log of that. So, if there was any kind of event where you've got to go back and do some failure analysis, you can go back to that data, pull it up, see where your concentration was at, and make sure everything's good there.
So you're saying I can put that in like my Trident, my Aqueous?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fun part is we've retrofitted pretty much any of the machines on the market, any kind of the new machines, they can come with it too now. So depending on
it can be retrofitted or put on a new one.
Yeah, so most of the time we're just branching off of the wash pump. Because you want it, you want it to be accurate. You don't want to have to sit there and mix the tank. You want the sensor to see what the boards are seeing, and that's what's coming from the wash tank.
Right now, it's just a mechanical pump that pumps in at a certain amount of frequency, right? And then you really have to test it in order to be able to tell.
Yep.
Well, I was just looking at the green thing that was bubbling. Now it's actually pretty cool. Now I'm actually interested.
I mean, it's been cool, but it's like...
Right, it's giving you real-time process control.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. And so with the refractive index sensor, what we can do with that is it's expanding. Like some of the chemistries didn't like the sonic velocity as much. We're getting into a lot of water-soluble cleaning. So those products traditionally are controlled with refractive index or RI. And that's something that's expanding its capabilities.
And it might be a simple little knob adjustment to put a little bit more or a little bit less in there to get to that optimal number that you wanted too.
Absolutely. Yep.
Was it Josh we were talking to yesterday that said you're measuring the speed of sound through the fluid to get that reading?
Yeah, traditionally the sonic velocity sensor, that's kind of what the difference with the newer one is we had sonic velocity and we've had great results with it. So it's basically how the wave goes through that tuning fork. We're correlating that back to what concentration the chemistry's at.
Josh and I were trying to figure out how they invented it, right? So I was like, does somebody underwater have like a stopwatch that somebody says, hello, right? And they click it.
Well, the technology's been around for a while, and it's super, super cool. There's actually there's a company that's measuring the sonic velocity in concrete for the tarmacs and stuff like that to determine how the wear is with it. I mean, it's completely unrelated to what we do, but it's fun,
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the beginning of this, I said welcome back because we did talk to you not all that long ago, and you were telling us about something that has to be exciting for somebody whose title is lab manager.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the shiny new lab that you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are expanding our application lab. We've been very, very fortunate with our machine partners over the course of our tenure. We've got a lot of machines, but I've actually had to turn some away because I didn't have space for it. So that's a whole new thing. It's going fourfold bigger, I would say, lab-wise.
And you're the one in charge of procurement and picking, the selection of what goes in there and everything?
Yeah, so we're working on layouts, all new DI system. It's just, I'm super, super excited to get this capability.
The last thing that resonated with me that we talked about at SMTAI was, and I'm almost kind of getting upset by it because everybody wants their own DF, right? But you design for cleaning, right? Mm-hmm. And then once you start looking to the data, it's actually kind of important to do it, right? You can place it as well as you want, you can design it, but if it's not going to clean, right, and you want it clean, then maybe you should incorporate that into
impact reliability if you can't get it clean.
And it's almost like we have this insane swing of somebody wants some miniaturization or they want these giant things now, right, that are super heavy. Are you seeing any more the heavy, bigger stuff coming into your lab type of thing of questions about how are we going to handle this part?
Yeah, I mean, the design to clean, it's a critical piece. Like typically once I get my hands on something, it's been through every iteration of the process, and now they're like, okay, we have a problem, fix it. Which, I mean, that's what I do. That's what I genuinely love to do, is solve people's problems. But, you know, the larger format, the bigger components, the denser things, you know, that's changing how the flux residues are moving about the board. You know, it's changing your flow path as you get into different types of cleaning. So one of the things we've seen, you know, traditionally aqueous cleaning, there's a resurgence of solvent cleaning as well. You know, we're bringing out our SLV 901 as a solvent cleaner, going back to traditional vapor degreasing, that you're seeing those heavier, really tight areas, trying to clean those. But it's definitely a changing market as well.
And as a CM right now, I'm faced with this issue of the price of silver, right? So they're trying to get away from these silver pastes, and they're all saying, oh, it's just as equivalent, right? Is there any changes that I need to be aware of if I did go away from a silver, like SAC 305?
Yeah, so a lot of what dictates your residues are, you know, those reflow temperatures. You know, vacuum versus nitrogen, if you're in air, all that. So what I like to say is, you know, if you're making a change to your solder paste, let us know. We work with all the solder paste manufacturers. Typically, we're testing things before they even hit the market. And we can give you some guidance on that initially. What I've seen with some of the lower temperature is it's not inherently that they're easier to clean, they're just different to clean. So there tends to be a little bit more paste volume. You know, when we're looking at the jettable materials, there's a lot more flux volume in there, and that shifts how everything reflows as well. So just, you know, we've got a database that we keep, you know, so many solder pastes in. It's like
they keep adding more, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have literally, I'm planning out where my refrigerators are going for my solder paste sample, which is a great place. It's a great problem to have. I'm literally carrying materials back with me from the show to test, so it's fun. It's a good problem to have.
So are you frequently having to go back to the drawing board and see how you can reformulate or adjust an existing solution that you have based on a paste that may have just emerged? Like what's the life cycle like for a cleaning agent that you've formulated?
Yeah. So, you know, 4625 has been our front runner. It's getting up there, all things concerned, but it's still just a workhorse. It's a great product. We've launched a couple of new materials over the years. It really depends. A lot of it falls back on EH&S. Like we're constantly making sure that our products are environmentally friendly. They meet with regulations. You know, PFAS coming out, that definitely disrupted the market, and we're seeing that across the board in our industry. You know, there's a lot of materials that were previously compatible with our products, you know, component wise, solder paste wise. There's stuff that shifted because of that regulation, and it's so it's different because it's not so well defined. So a lot of people hear PFAS and they're like, bad. You know, we moved away from it just to make sure that we're compliant, but it's definitely, there's a trickle effect there. Life cycle wise, that's more what dictates, I feel like, than just the solder paste and what we're seeing there.
The bar's moving constantly, so you may have to, what was okay last week may not be okay next week.
Yep.
So now you have to find a different way to accomplish that same end goal.
Yep. And then they want it cheaper, and then it's going to go smaller. But once again, fun problems.
One of the DFC things that we all were hearing about in the cleaning and coding conference that we all went to.
Everybody that mattered, right? Yeah.
I didn't go.
It was fun.
It's not just getting the chemistry into these tight places on the boards. It's also you have to figure out ways to get it out. So how do you guys work through, like, how much time the chemistry will be present, how the thickness of the material, how do you weigh all the different, there's certain things that are helpful, but you could probably only use a certain percentage of to keep it within those regulatory things. I know we used to have some miraculous cleaner, chemicals we used back in the day that we're not allowed to use anymore. So
that's right.
Is it always just like trying to figure out what new mix of materials allows you to keep improving those results while still somehow staying within the guidelines?
Yeah, it's a balance. I mean, first and foremost, we need our products to get to those residues, but it's staying around. That's a concern. You know, we want to make sure that they're free rinsing. So when it comes to formulating an R&D, I think the latest iteration, we're on like formula 700 plus, so that we're going through, you know, we're doing the bench scale testings and then we're scaling that up. So, you know, putting in the machines and beating it up, you know, there's long running tests that we do to make sure that rinsability is a definite factor.
And for me, like I rely on Debbie a lot. I'll call her and I'll say, Debbie, help me out here, right? And then she sends me like 800 pages of like, and I don't mean to be, thank you, Debbie, for all you do for me, right?
Debbie's wonderful.
I don't mean it that way.
If you send him a paragraph,
Yeah.
you'll get the response TLDR.
Let alone data sheet.
Bullet points. Gotcha.
Right, yeah.
I got you.
Highlights.
But one of the things was like, I was getting this residue on through old pins, right?
Mhm.
And it was before I had preheaters and heaters on my selective solder. So like it really wasn't getting fully activated before we hit it, right?
Yep.
Nitrogen wasn't blasting at it like it is with the new one. So it was like all these variables into it. And I'm kind of like, hey, this is what I got. Help me fix it, right? And she's like, well, adjust the settings on this, and this on your wash, right? But the issue, which took care of it, however, the issue now is it's like a hotter temp, longer cycle. But the issue was now like the caps, the capacitor, like was the shrinking was like expanding and coming up, right? So it's
Yep.
like it's not just okay, I can remove this, but now I have this issue. So where's the happy medium here and stuff like that? You know, it's a constant. You know, you fix one problem and then maybe something else exposes itself. It's like never ending sometimes. You know.
We call it whack-a-mole, is what our CTO, our founder, Kyle, like he calls it whack-a-mole is what we do, you know, and it's just working through it and figuring out, you know, like, do we go to a component replacement because of that issue?
Yeah.
Is it a cosmetic defect rather than a reliability defect, and start working it from there? But yeah.
Is there a cap we could put over the cap to prevent it from, right?
Yep.
It was just like, and I'm like, I got to ship tomorrow, so.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is timelines.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
I wanted to highlight something about you personally. I think, you know, if you walk around the trade show halls, right, it's obvious that this is kind of like a male-dominated industry.
Yep.
There's been some shift, but I think it's worth highlighting that, you know, not only are you a female in the industry, but one in the STEM portion of it as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess just kudos, and that's a pretty cool. Yeah, congratulations on that, you know.
Well, what's kind of
Way to be a woman and do
yeah,
your thing.
no,
you
got
know,
this.
just-
No, it's
You noticed. That's cool.
a woman.
that was going to work out so much better in my head.
No, I
But
gotcha.
just maybe talk to us about, you know, what that experience is like, and I think Kaizen as a company in general, you have some pretty powerhouse women in your organization. But yeah, maybe just talk to us about that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I went through a chemical engineering program that was 80% male at the time. And most of the women didn't make it through that program. And it's a combination of things. And it's so funny. Like, I hit Kaizen, like I literally started at Kaizen 3 weeks after I graduated from school, and I've been there almost 14 years. And there's a reason why. You know, they're just very welcoming. They're very encouraging of that. Like you said, the powerhouse women. But the industry, I've noticed a shift in it as well, that it's not so much like, hey, you're female, so you're better than anything else there. It's more welcoming, and it's neutralizing almost is what I'm seeing.
Just feels normal.
It just feels normal. And that may be because I don't think of it any way else, you know, but I've had a lot of really good champions. And we were at another conference back in the fall, and, you know, there's always the women's programs and stuff like that. And I find that to be a great social experiment. I don't know if you've ever gone to one of those, but it's so much fun to see. Because one of the first ones I went to, they brought makeup artists in, and people did give fashion advice, and that was their choice. So there's
A
that
guy
happening.
planned that.
A guy. And then another one, you know, it was more like that motivational speech. But what she was saying is, like, the men aren't the enemy. That it's so easy to go to the man-hating side of, like, the empowerment, whereas it's like the equality is what we're looking for, is that you can have just as good of a champion in your industry industry that's male as you can female. So it's making that conscious step forward.
Yeah, and I think it kind of makes it challenging. I was thinking, like, do I even bring that up, right? Because it is just normal, right?
Yeah.
But the reality does exist that there's still an imbalance in terms of, there's more dudes in the industry than there are. And all three of us have daughters, so I think it's cool. It's just nice to see.
I think
it's good for the industry.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a CM that doesn't have a quality manager. The top one, that's a woman, though.
Yeah. Yep.
Am I wrong? Just one?
The manager's male.
What?
Dun, dun, dun.
Quality manager? You? Another title?
No.
It's like every 3 months he gets a new title at his shop. But I will say this is kind of interesting. Debbie has this social get together, right, for women only at this one event after the show's done, right? So, me being the lazy person I just went on ChatGPT and I said, this is what I want to talk about, right? And create an image for me so that way it's not just text, right?
Yeah.
And so I did it, and one of the women looks almost exactly like you on there. It's like they took your photo, it was like electronics, and like put you on there.
That's it.
You would know it if you ever looked at my LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
But it's on there.
As we
Live dig, like
off
that.
camera.
No, it's funny because, like, I didn't realize, I don't know if you've been by the booth, but I'm very prominent on it. And I didn't know that was happening the first time I came to the show, like, because I walked up and it was like, there's your face that big, which is great. We were talking about that photo shoot. That was actually like 10 years ago. And the guy, he's like, people don't like redheads. And your hair looks really artificial, so we don't really want you here.
Oh, my God.
And he's been on the booth for like 10 years, which is freaking hilarious.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay.
Irony
all right.
there.
Going back to the quality
last-
aspect.
What can of worms did I open?
I can go on this for days. It's fun.
Well, I'm sure it's not like a not thought of or not talked about behind the scenes thing, right? Like, so it's not like we all don't have our own opinions on everything like that. Like, Daniel likes to hire men for quality managers, obviously, right? But like most it is a choice. But I think most CMs and most people in quality are women. There's just, especially in the board fab side, it was that way, and it's that way with everything else. I think it's siloed, right? Because I can't have my quality manager come around here, right? It's just too important at the shop. So
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Well, and I think what it comes back to is, going back that equality rather than like superiority aspect of it. And that's on women too. Like, we can't fall back on like, well, I'm better because I'm female. It's like, no, you're just as good. And that's okay. Like, but make yourself better, not because you're female, but because you're good at your job.
Yeah. That's said well. I'm going to redirect
Fair?
Stencil Cleaning.
Okay.
I know we got to do a little work together at Sean's place in Michigan, and we did some testing on, IPA for stencil cleaning, which is what a lot of people are doing, right? At the screen printer, you've got under stencil wipe, and you've got good old IPA.
Well, pretty much everyone is going to have 50-gallon drum of IPA in their facility already, so it's a convenient
It's there,
thing
you've got
to
it,
use.
right?
And
But we saw some interesting results messing around with using an engineered solvent, adjusting the contact time for that solvent. Talk to us a little bit about that work and what you guys have found in the field.
Yeah. So, traditionally stencil cleaning is easy. IPA is commodity, it's cheap, and it's just good enough. Historically is what we found. Like, solubility wise, it will dissolve most of your legacy type fluxes. As that has changed with more polymeric aspects of it, it's not as good. So you tend to get the gummy issue, you get the thickness buildup. It's just overall not a reliable process. As stencil apertures have gotten smaller, any kind of bleed out, all that, it gets very complicated. So, what we tend to focus on is more displacement with a lot of materials. So you're moving it away. You're not creating that wicking effect that can happen if you're not cleaning it well. Like an IPA, because of, some of the lower surface tension things, it can wick out into different areas that you don't inherently want it.
Under the UV light, we had the UV tracer put in the paste, And it was
That
like
was so cool.
IPA was just smear city,
Yep,
right? It was
yep.
basically just smearing that stuff around.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we had SPI data to support everything, but just that visual, and anybody could look at it and say, that bad, that good. Right? You know?
I love it when it's like that.
Yeah. One was metal colored, and the other one was like this, a roller skating rink color at night, right? It was just
Yeah. I think it just comes back to like understanding like that cleaning mechanism. Like solubility is great in a lot of applications, but displacement is a factor as well.
same paper. The only thing that changed, right,
Yeah.
was literally the chemical used to clean it.
Yeah. And like stencils are not getting easier, like overall technology. A little bit of heartburn. But having something with a little bit more reliability, a little more predictability is definitely a factor that we're focusing on.
Yeah, all these little things that we kind of just took for granted in the past, right? Well, you just use IPA, you just use this kind of wipe, whatever. They're all starting to matter more and more. And you need to stack the deck in your favor. So
Yep,
Especially when you
absolutely.
got to the miniaturization parts of it, right? Like
Oh my gosh.
the SPI data was unbelievable to see how much everything was affected, right?
It was huge.
It was like you can use IPA for these 1206s, no problem, 603s, right? You start going lower, the charts are doing this, right?
Yeah.
Like on there, it was wild to see.
And with the tools that we have now to track that stuff, like it's crazy the data that you can get. It's so much fun.
You can't hide.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
Well, Chelsea, thank you so much for joining us. And we last time we talked, I think there was an invitation that we can come see the lab when it's done.
Absolutely.
We haven't forgotten, and we're going to take you up on that. How can people follow your work and what's new at Kaizen? What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, Kaizen's very active on LinkedIn, so we're putting a lot of fun stuff up there. We're hoping to announce the lab here soon and the, how that's expanded. But yeah, we're all there.
Dr. Adam's a great follow too.
Yep,
He's always
absolutely.
posting interesting videos on
Yeah, he's fun. He's been bouncing around the
He's
show as
okay.
there. He's right
I think
there.
he's in the
I see
booth
him.
right now.
Yeah, he is.
well.
Sitting on the couch, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Chelsea, and thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.